bought this sofa the other day. It's really nice. It came with this coffee table though, and the coffee table is in a terrible state. I thought, I'm going to do it up, but whilst doing it up, I'll answer the question, is it worth it?
When I say, is it worth doing up, my thinking was solely in dollars and cents. But over the next 2 days, I realised a deeper meaning in the table's imperfections. I found a value that I wasn't looking for.
Because this has been left outside for a couple of years, it's expanded and contracted, and it's just gotten a horrible, horrible mess.
This is how I'm fixing those cracks. I'm getting as much glue as possible into the cracks and then clamping them together. If you didn't have clamps, you could do the same thing with ratchet straps. This is a glue that foams up, which is great for getting into the cracks, but it does mean a bit of cleanup as you go. The tabletop is covered with cracks and splits where the different pieces of wood were laminated. This is what had me second guessing whether the project was even worthwhile. At this stage, I really wasn't sure. New, this table costs $259 US. If I spend a good chunk of my weekend working on this and then the result isn't good, then I may have wasted my time. I decided to give the tabletop a good sand down with 60 grit, and then I can at least see if this project is worthwhile. I started out trying to achieve perfection. Each chip, each crack I see as a mistake to fix. I quickly realised this table is never going to look like the new one for $259. This table has spent 2 years outside in New Zealand. It has seen some weather. This is the beauty of it. This is what I had overlooked. The table has character. I'm reminded of the Japanese aesthetic of wabi-sabi, which places a value on imperfection, transience, and the natural cycle of growth and decay. Looked at through this lens, the tabletop isn't just cracked, it's weathered. The table tells a story of time and experience. A family owned this table, spent summers sitting around it, summers where the hot sun dried and shrunk the wood, put cracks and splits across it. In the winter it was neglected, left outside and forgotten. The rains came and got into the cracks and swelled the wood. This thing has lived. Once you see it, this beauty in transience exists everywhere. These cast iron clamps weren't bought new, nor was the mallet. I inherited them from my grandfather. He would have used them for his woodworking projects. Now he's gone, but the tools live on. There's a bittersweet recognition here that everything is temporary. I used to live in Japan, And there they say mono no aware, the awareness of things and their impermanence. Through Wabi Sabi, the transient nature of life is celebrated. Change is seen as a constant, a part of life's natural flow. I think this is philosophically interesting, but I do struggle with it. I have a tough time knowing one day my wife and I won't be here on this land, and everything that we've built and created and planted, that will go too. I do find some solace in the items that will make it through, though. One day, someone else will use these clamps to make something. They aren't going to break anytime soon, and maybe someone will eat the fruit from a tree I've planted, or live in a building that I made. I used this glue that I've not used before. It kind of foams up, which is good because it fills all of the cracks in the wood pretty well. The bad side of it is that it does leave quite a lot of mess. You can see all through here where it's just sort of bubbled out of the wood. I tried to clean it up as I went, but yeah, it just kept foaming. And it's also crept into some of the kind of mortises here. So I've got to clean those out with a chisel so everything fits back together. But I think that's done a good job though. Just needs a sand. One of my favourite aspects of Wabi Sabi is the concept of the unfinished. Objects are seen not as perfect, symmetrical and finished, but as imperfect, asymmetrical and unfinished. When you buy something new from a shop, it's often seen as a finished object. An iPhone is perfect when you buy it, and every day you use it, it will just get worse. That's why I like making, restoring, and maintaining things. Now I have worked on this table, I really feel like it's mine. If it gets marked or damaged, I won't care because I know how to take it apart, how to fix it. I understand every bit of it. I also don't expect it to stay the same. I can see what 2 years of rough treatment will do to it. I'll enjoy it as it ages. It will get dry and damaged again, and I'll have to re-oil it. Might even crack and split, but I'll just glue it up. These things won't destroy the table, they'll just increase its charm. With the glue dry and the clamps off, it's time for a final sand down with 120 grit. Now I've sanded it, the grain's starting to come up and it looks really nice. This is my favourite bit actually, putting some oil on. So it'll be, the wood looks super dry, so with some oil on it, it should start to look pretty good. I'm using 100% tung oil. Most oils like Danish oil or hard wax oil have a hardening agent in them. Tung oil is just a natural oil, so it takes a long time to dry. It's amazing how much of this stuff soaked into the wood. It was so dry. I ended up doing so many coats, I used all of the oil in this tin and then started another. The ideas of wabi-sabi and mono no aware, although Japanese, do have some universality. To me, they seem to tie into the Latin phrase momento mori, remember that you will die. This has a deep connection to Stoic philosophy. In this context, life is understood as impermanent or fleeting, and in response to that, we are encouraged to let go of trivial concerns and focus on what we can control, our thoughts and actions. Wabi-sabi is purely an aesthetic, but memento mori gives us a way to understand life. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Obstacles and challenges are not things to be avoided. They are opportunities to grow and learn. At the beginning of this, I wasn't even sure if the table was worth restoring. What is worth? Beyond a price tag, it becomes about how I should spend my time. There is also the journey along the way, the unforeseen issues, the problems to fix, the skills I might learn. My life is full of projects. It's an endless to-do list. My guess is yours is the same. Sometimes we feel like we want to get to the end of the to-do list, but do we really? If each item on the list is, as Marcus Aurelius says, then what stands in the way becomes the way. I try to keep this in mind as I go around fixing and making. It isn't always perfect, far from it, but I'm constantly learning. And maybe that is the real worth.
All right, so I started out saying, is it worth it? This took, I did it over the course of a weekend, but let's say all up, one full day's work and $250 in the shop. Is it worth it? Well, for me it is, because I enjoyed that time. It was time well spent. In terms of what I get out of it, this I think is actually nicer than what you get straight from a shop. I like all these little imperfections. It's got, it's got a bit of a character and there's a story to it. So for me, yeah, absolutely, well worth it. Well, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. See you next week.